You think your little toy soldier bike is above the rules. Well, it's being towed, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. The day my motorcycle vanished from my driveway, I thought it got stolen by some random thief. Not by the HOA president with a fake smile and a clipboard. My bike isn't loud. It's a small, quiet motorcycle, more like a big scooter. I use it to get to work early before traffic turns into chaos. No burnouts, no speeding, just me, my helmet, and a soft little engine, per doso. When I walked outside, the silence was the first thing that hit me. It was a cold, sharp, metallic silence where the familiar shape of my 1982 Honda XL250 should have been. I called her the Cricket because, despite her age, she was exactly as the opening thought described. Small, quiet, and reliable. A perfect early morning commuter. She sat right beside my beaten-up Toyota Corolla, but this morning, the space was empty. The chain I used to loop around the front tire and a steel post lay neatly coiled on the concrete, cut clean with a precision that suggested planning, not panic. My first thought, as stated, was the random thief, the desperate opportunist. I felt that hollow dread that sinks a man's stomach when he realizes something he valued is gone. I was already reaching for my phone to call the police, my gaze sweeping the street for any sign. When I saw it, tucked under a wiper blade on the Corolla was a crisp, ivory-colored piece of cardstock. It was secured with a perfectly placed piece of Scotch tape. It was not a note of apology or an offer of sale. It was a citation. The paper was so thick and official, it almost seemed to hum with bureaucratic self-importance. In a typeface that mocked me with its neatness, it read, "Violation of covenants, conditions, and restrictions CC and RS Section 4. B. Subclause 2. Unauthorized vehicle storage and appearance." Below that, in a slightly larger, bolder font, impoundment notice, and then, the signature. Not a scrawled initial, but a perfectly legible, flourished script. Arthur Pendleton, 3, President, Willow Creek Homeowners Association. My blood didn't boil. It froze, then exploded with a kind of incandescent fury. Arthur Pendleton, 3, the man with the fake smile and the clipboard, the self-appointed tyrant of our perfectly manicured suburban purgatory. He had an obsessive compulsion for visual harmony, a concept he wielded like a weapon against anything that smacked of individuality or, God forbid, utility. The Cricket, being a working-class machine with a few honest scrapes and a small, rusted luggage rack, was a glaring imperfection in his landscape of expensive, oversized SUVs and immaculate, chemically treated lawns. He'd called it a motorized eyesore, a toy soldier bike, and once, unforgivably, a noise pollution hazard in the monthly newsletter, which was a ridiculous slander given that the Corolla was louder on a cold start. I snatched the phone, but the police line was suddenly irrelevant. This wasn't a crime. It was a civil war waged with tow trucks and I called the number listed on the impound notice, Pendleton's personal cell, of course, because he wanted to personally bask in his authority. He answered on the first ring, his voice smooth, saccharine, and irritatingly well. Arthur 2. What do I owe the pleasure of this early morning call? Where is my motorcycle, Arthur? I didn't shout. I kept my voice low, a tight leash on the snarl in my throat. He chuckled, a dry, reedy sound that grated on my nerves. "Ah, Mr. Dasso, your two-wheeled conveyance. I do hope the notice wasn't too jarring. It's been moved to a secure, off-site facility for proper storage." As the notice clearly states, it was in violation of 3 distinct CC&Rs, specifically, parking a non-primary vehicle in the visible driveway space for more than 48 consecutive hours, and failure to maintain a visually complementary appearance consistent with the community's aesthetic standards. I laughed then, a short, sharp bark of disbelief. Visually complementary. It's a bike, Arthur. I use it to get to work. It saves me half an hour in traffic. You cut the chain. You had it stolen under the pretense of a bike. It was parked in my driveway, a property I own, not a communal space. Ownership, Mr. Dasso Pendleton purred. The pretense of pleasantness dropping slightly comes with responsibility to the community. And I have to say, that little machine, with its utilitarian ruggedness, simply detracts from the overall property value. It's a small concession to make for the privilege of living in Willow Creek. Wouldn't you agree? I did this for you. Really? The community has been complaining. The community is you, and possibly your wife. Arthur, give me the address of this secure facility. I want my bike back. Now, Mr. Dasso, it's not that simple. There are penalties. You see, a substantial fine for the multiple violations, plus the hourly rate for the storage and the towing fee. You'll need to remit the full amount to the HOA office first. I'd advise you to do it quickly. The fees accrue rather rapidly, and frankly, I believe the CC and RS permit the HOA to dispose of improperly stored items after 30 days to recoup costs. He finished with a theatrical sigh. Tough luck, old boy. You should have read the fine print before you moved in. You think your little toy soldier bike is above the rules. Well, it's being towed, and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. He hung up. I stood there in my driveway, the cold November air whipping around me, staring at the perfectly coiled chain that represented the sheer audacity of this man. Nothing I can do about it. The phrase echoed in my mind, a challenge thrown into the well of my own stubbornness. Pendleton had just made a fundamental error. He hadn't just towed a bike. He had declared war on the one thing I held dear, my peace and my right to live unmolested. He was counting on me paying the exorbitant fee, collecting the bike, and selling it or hiding it in the garage forever. Defeated, he was counting on me being just another compliant homeowner. But he didn't know the cricket. He didn't know DOSSO. My workday, thankfully, involved computers and not physical labor, which meant I could operate from my own special kind of battlefield. I called in late, citing an urgent property dispute, and spent the next 6 hours doing the one thing I do better than nearly anyone, digging up. I didn't try to fight the HOA over the motorcycle's appearance. That was a subjective, unwinnable fight based on his tyranny of taste. Instead, I went after Arthur Pendleton III himself, using the digital trail he so carelessly left behind. The HOA's bylaws were online, a thick dull PDF, but I read every word. I checked the state statutes on HOA governance, and then I started researching Arthur. Arthur Pendleton III was a VP of acquisition strategy for a large, anonymous corporation. He liked to project an image of impeccable success and moral rectitude. But, like many small-time dictators, he was sloppy when he thought no one was watching. The first crack I found was the impound company. It was listed on the notice as Precision Property Management Logistics. A quick search of the Secretary of State's business registration revealed that Precision Property Management Logistics was owned in its entirety by Pendleton Family Holdings, LLC, and who was the sole registered agent for Pendleton Family Holdings? Arthur Pendleton, III's wife, Prudence Pendleton. This wasn't an official HOA action using an approved, competitive vendor. This was Arthur Pendleton III towing my bike with his own company, essentially writing himself a check from the HOA's coffers, which were filled by my HOA, dues to pay his own business for the service. Conflict of interest. That was the legal term. Racketeering was the word I preferred. I dug deeper. I found the HOA meeting minutes. Arthur had claimed the entire community was complaining about my motorized eyesore. I cross-referenced the dates. The only complaint filed was an anonymous, unsigned email attached to the minutes of the August meeting, and the only person who had moved to approve the motion to authorize the immediate removal of any non-compliant vehicle from any common or private property was Arthur himself, seconded by his wife, Prudence, who served as the HOA treasurer. The vote was 2-4-0 against. The quorum required for board members. The board had 5, but 3 members had been conveniently absent or on holiday. The entire action, the entire sweeping bylaw change, was illegitimate. The final piece of ammunition was the location of the secure, off-site facility. I found the property records for the business address of Precision Property Management Logistics. It wasn't a commercial storage lot. It was a 20 by 20 foot storage unit rented in the industrial park 3 towns over. A storage unit Arthur Pendleton III paid for with his own private funds, but which he was now billing the HOA for as commercial impound facility rental. By 3 p.m., I had a meticulously documented 18-page packet of evidence. It contained copies of the towing notice, the Secretary of State's business registration linking Precision to the HOA minutes proving lack of quorum, and a legal letter, drafted and signed by an actual and expensive property lawyer I'd hired for a 1-hour consultation, detailing Pendleton's violation of his fiduciary duties, the illegal nature of and a clear demand for the immediate, unconditional, and free return of my property. I drove straight to the Willow Creek HOA administrative office, which was a small, well-decorated room in the back of the clubhouse. Prudence Pendleton, a woman whose smile was even faker and more brittle than her husband's, was behind the desk, her face arranged in an expression of long-suffering nobility. "May I help?"